Hi, the Formation app is now available on iOS. In this video we're going to look at setup, using the controls, and we'll look at new functionality called Fine FPS Control for when you need to get the very best results filming. The video link top right has a more detailed breakdown of other app functions. So let's get into it. Out of the box, Formation creates its own Wi-Fi network, and you'll need to connect to this network in order to use the app. So if we start the app right now, then we can't talk to Formation until we've connected to the Formation Wi-Fi. So if we look, so you see they're scanning, it's just going to sit there scanning forever, and you won't be able to use that reconnect button either. So if we look at the tablet Wi-Fi settings, you'll be able to see a network there called Formation Default. It doesn't require a password, you can just connect directly to it. Once that's connected, we can go back to the app, hit reconnect, and it will connect pretty much instantaneously because there's really nothing on the network except the Formation machine. Now we can use all of the app functionality, such as the animation speed control, the strobe brightness, and the colors. Now, a cool thing with the strobe brightness is that you can turn the strobes entirely on and off, and turn the animation into a spinning blur, and turn the spinning blur back into a magic solid animation. So let's look at that. Wow. And we've got the color controls. And there's a not so secret button combo to engage disco mode, white, red, green and blue in quick succession, and the RGB strobes will just randomly cycle through colors. Now the animation speed slider is really useful for explaining how it works. If you slow the strobes right down and to the point where you can see each individual strobe, it becomes quite hard to watch, but you can really begin to get an understanding of how it works. Unfortunately, we can't show you that on video because, as you can see here, if I try and slow the animation speed down, it just looks terrible. Because you really, to film it, you need to synchronize the strobe rate with the camera frame rate. So let's go to the settings page, having stopped the animation, and we can give the machine a new name from default. Let's call it Frogs. And we can also configure the Formation machine as a client on our local Wi-Fi. You don't have to do that, but it's useful if you don't want to switch Wi-Fi configs every time you want to use the app. So we type in our local Wi-Fi network name here, which in my case is Wimbledon HH5, and the password. And then once we hit the Set Formation Wi-Fi Config button, the machine will acknowledge with a double blue blink. If we look at the device Wi-Fi details, you'll see it's automatically reconnected back to my local Wi-Fi, because the Formation default network is gone. So iOS knows that when your current Wi-Fi network disappears, you can try and reconnect to another one that works. So now all we need to do is hit the reconnect button, and then the app will scan the Wimbledon HH5 network for the Formation device, and it will find it soon. You see the scanning progress bar at the top of the app there. They're connected to Frogs. So now we can use all of that functionality. So let's take a look at this Fine FPS control. We use that in the case where we want to get the best results filming where we film with the strobes off, so we don't have any of the strobe artifacting that we were seeing before with that wandering black bar. So if you go to the settings page, you can see there's a switch there, Fine Animation Speed Control. You turn that on, and then back on the controls page, you've now got two new buttons, Fine FPS Minus and Fine FPS Plus. So what they do is that when you're filming with the strobes off, you have your camera shutter speed to 1/2000th of a second, and you sync the animation speed to the camera frame rate just as before. But the synchronization in this case is typically not perfect. As we can see here, when we speed the film up, you can see that there's a little bit of drift where the animation is slowly drifting clockwise, and we can use the Fine FPS Minus button to correct that. And you get feedback on using those buttons from the machine with red strobe flashes for Fine FPS Minus and green strobe flashes for Fine FPS Plus, which you can see in the inset, which was necessary because when you have the shutter speed at 1/2000, you can't see the strobe flashes. So the inset was at 1/25th of a second. So speeding the film up again, we can see how we can use the Fine FPS control to overshoot our correction and send the drift counterclockwise, and then correct it again using the Fine FPS Plus command. If your drift is clockwise, you correct it with Fine FPS Minus, and if it's counterclockwise, you correct it with Fine FPS Plus.